Welcome back to Fluent English Conversations podcast.
You open your eyes. The alarm clock is ringing. It is Tuesday. You have not even moved your legs out of bed, but your chest already feels heavy. You think about your email inbox. You think about that awkward conversation you had yesterday. You think about the dishes in the sink. The day has not even started, and you already feel tired. You feel like you are losing the game of life before you even drink your morning coffee.
Hello, English learners, and welcome back. I am Felix.
And I am Emily. Today, we are talking about that heavy morning feeling. We are talking about gentle, quiet ways to protect your energy and find a little bit of light in a very stressful world. We know life is hard. We are not going to tell you to just smile and ignore your problems. That is impossible.
Exactly. We want to talk about tiny, realistic steps. Small adjustments that do not require massive amounts of energy. And of course, along the way, we are going to teach you some incredibly useful English phrases for everyday life. We will explain them, give you pictures in your mind, and ask you to repeat them with us.
But before we dive in, we have a small favor to ask. If you enjoy our conversations, please take 1 second to click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and if you know someone who feels a little tired or overwhelmed lately, share this audio with them. It really helps our community grow, and it might just make their day a little brighter.
Let us start with that morning feeling you described, Emily. The alarm goes off, and immediately your brain starts a panic attack about the future. I know this feeling very well. You wake up, and suddenly you are worrying about things that might not even happen. This brings us to our first key phrase for today. Thoughts are spiraling.
Let us break that down. Thoughts are spiraling. This means your mind takes one small, tiny worry and quickly turns it into a massive disaster. It is a chain reaction of negative imagination. You lose control of the direction of your thoughts.
Here is a picture for your mind. It is like a tiny snowball rolling down a steep, snowy mountain. At the top, it starts the size of an apple. It is harmless. But as it rolls down, it gathers more snow. It goes faster and faster. By the time it reaches the bottom of the mountain, it is a giant freezing boulder that destroys a house. Your small worry becomes a giant boulder.
That is a perfect physical analogy. Let me give you a real-life example. Yesterday, my boss did not reply to my morning message. Instantly, my thoughts were spiraling. I thought, he is angry at me. Then I thought, I am going to lose my job. Then I thought, I will not be able to pay my rent, and I will have to live in the forest. All because of one unread message.
We have all been there. Now, listeners, it is your turn to practice. Speak out loud with me, wherever you are. Thoughts are spiraling.
Thoughts are spiraling. Excellent. Now, sometimes our thoughts do not run into the future. Sometimes they get stuck in the past. We remember a mistake we made, and we just sit there with that memory. And that brings us to our next phrase. Dwell on something.
Dwell on something. This means you stay inside a negative memory. You refuse to leave a bad thought or a sad event. You just keep holding it in your brain long after the event is finished.
Think of it like chewing a piece of old gum. You put the gum in your mouth, and for 5 minutes it is sweet and nice. But after 3 hours, all the sweet flavor is gone. It just tastes like dirty rubber. Your jaw hurts, but for some reason you keep chewing it anyway. You are gaining nothing, but you refuse to spit it out.
A great example of this from my life. Last week, I dropped a glass of water at a dinner party. It broke. Everyone laughed, we cleaned it up in 2 minutes, and the party continued. But for the rest of the week, I could not stop thinking about how stupid I looked. I chose to dwell on it for a whole week, even though nobody else cared.
It is so human to do that. Listeners, let us practice this useful chunk. Repeat after me. Dwell on something.
Dwell on something. Great job. So, how do we stop chewing that old gum? How do we stop the snowball? I use a method that brings us to our third phrase. Short-circuit negative thoughts.
Short-circuit negative thoughts. This means you force your brain to stop a bad mental pattern immediately by doing something completely different. You shock your system out of the sadness.
Exactly. Imagine you're in your living room and the television is playing a very loud, scary movie. You cannot find the remote control. The noise is giving you a headache. Instead of searching for the remote, you just walk to the wall and pull the electric plug out. Silence. You interrupt the power. You just stop the noise instantly.
I love that. Pulling the plug. For example, when I feel angry and I realize my thoughts are getting dark, I short-circuit negative thoughts by going to the bathroom and splashing freezing cold water on my face. The physical shock of the cold water pulls my brain back to reality. It resets the system.
Let us practice this phrase together. Say it loud and clear. Short-circuit negative thoughts.
Short-circuit negative thoughts. You know, Felix, we often talk about morning routines and fixing our mood during the day. But I recently discovered a personal hack. I realized that a good, calm morning actually starts the night before. I used to lie in bed, stare at the dark ceiling, and my brain would just race. I could not turn it off. I was dwelling on everything.
I think 90% of adults suffer from that nighttime anxiety. What did you change?
I started a new gentle habit. I call it the digital sunset. 30 minutes before I want to sleep, I put my phone in the kitchen. The digital sun goes down. The glowing screens are gone. Then I take a physical piece of paper and a pen. I write down 3 simple tasks for tomorrow. Just 3. Like buy milk, reply to David, water the plants.
But why use a physical piece of paper? Why not just think about the tasks?
Because when you write it down with your physical hand, you literally take those heavy tasks out of your brain and put them on the table. You give your working memory permission to rest. You tell your brain, you do not need to hold these ideas all night. This piece of paper will hold them for you. It completely stops my thoughts from spiraling in the dark.
That is a wonderful, tiny step, taking the load off your working memory, and it really affects how you view the next day. Speaking of how we view the world, Let us look at our next phrase, general outlook.
General outlook. This means your basic, everyday attitude towards life. It is the filter through which you see your daily situations. It is your baseline mood.
Imagine your general outlook is a pair of glasses you wear every single day. If the lenses of your glasses are covered in dark mud, the whole world looks dirty, gray, and depressing, even if the sun is shining. If you clean the lenses, you can see the true, bright colors of the world. The world did not change, only your glasses changed.
That makes perfect sense. For example, I noticed that when I stopped drinking coffee late at night and finally got 8 hours of sleep, my general outlook completely transformed. Suddenly, my daily problems did not seem so scary. The problems were the same, but my glasses were clean.
Try saying this one with us, listeners. General outlook.
General outlook. Felix, speaking of changing your glasses, I know you have a mental trick for this too. You mentioned it to me before we started recording.
Yes, I want to share a tiny linguistic trick that honestly changed my daily life. As a language expert, I pay attention to the words inside my head. I noticed my internal voice always used the words, I have to. I have to go to work. I have to clean the floor. I have to practice my Spanish vocabulary.
It sounds very heavy, like an obligation.
Exactly. It felt like a heavy duty, like a punishment. Every day was a list of demands. So I decided to change one single word in my mind. I replaced I have to with I get to.
I get to. That is an interesting shift.
It changes everything. I get to go to work. This means I have a job that pays me money to buy food. Many people do not have that. I get to clean the floor. This means I have a warm, safe apartment to live in. I get to practice Spanish. This means I have a healthy, functioning brain that is capable of learning new and beautiful things. It sounds like such a small mental game, but it completely removes the pressure. It makes learning and living a privilege, not a prison.
I absolutely love that I get to. It removes the guilt and replaces it with appreciation. But let us be honest with our listeners. Sometimes life is just incredibly hard. Sometimes you cannot just change your words and feel better. Sometimes you have real emergencies. And that brings us to our next phrase. Keep your head above water.
Keep your head above water. This phrase means you are just barely surviving a very difficult period in your life. You are not making progress. You are not achieving big goals. You are just trying not to fail completely or collapse.
Imagine you are literally in the middle of a deep, cold, dark ocean. You are not swimming beautifully towards a tropical island. You are just kicking your legs as hard as you can so that your mouth stays in the air and you do not sink to the bottom. You are just surviving the waves.
That is a very accurate picture. For example, last year my car engine broke, my dog got very sick, and I had a huge project at work, all in the same month. I stopped going to the gym. I stopped reading books. I was just trying to keep my head above water until the month was over. And that is okay. Sometimes surviving is enough.
Say it with us, please. Keep your head above water.
Keep your head above water. One thing that makes it so hard to keep our head above water is looking at other people. We open our phones and we see everyone else looking happy and rich. This leads us directly to our next vocabulary chunk, highlight reel.
Highlight reel. This means a collection of only the most perfect, successful, and beautiful moments of someone's life. It completely hides the boring, sad, or ugly reality.
Think about going to the cinema. Before the movie starts, you watch a 2-minute trailer for an action movie. The trailer shows massive explosions, fast cars, and romantic kisses. It is thrilling. But the trailer does not show the boring 3 hours where the actors were sitting in the rain, drinking cold coffee, waiting for the camera to fix. Social media is just the 2-minute trailer. It is not the real movie.
I remind myself of this daily. For example, you see a photo of a family smiling on a beautiful beach in Spain. That is their highlight reel. You did not see the terrible argument they had in the taxi, or the fact that they lost their luggage at the airport. You only see the fake smile.
Let us practice this one together. Highlight reel.
Highlight reel. And connected to this social media illusion is a very famous English idiom. The grass isn't always greener.
The grass isn't always greener. This idiom means that other people's lives might look much better or easier from a distance, but when you actually get closer and experience their life, you realize they have painful problems too.
Let us use a visual metaphor. Imagine you are in a supermarket. You look across the room and you see a beautiful, shiny, bright red apple. It looks absolutely delicious and perfect. You want it so badly. But when you finally buy it and bite into it, you discover a big, ugly brown worm inside. From far away, it looked perfect. Up close, it had a hidden problem.
That is exactly how human lives work. For example, a few years ago, I really wanted to be promoted to a senior manager level. I looked at my boss and envied his big office. But when I finally got the promotion, I realized the grass isn't always greener. I had so much stress I could not sleep, and I missed my old, simple job.
Listeners, repeat after me. The grass isn't always greener.
The grass isn't always greener. Now, what happens when we feel completely unmotivated? When every day feels exactly the same and we have no energy to change it? We use the phrase stuck in a rut.
Stuck in a rut. This means you are trapped in a very boring, repetitive routine. You feel completely uninspired, and you cannot seem to move your life forward no matter what you try.
Picture a car driving on a very muddy, wet dirt road in the country. The tires of the car fall deep into the wet tracks in the mud. These tracks are the ruts. You press the gas pedal as hard as you can. The engine screams, the wheels spin very fast, throwing mud everywhere. But the car does not move an inch. You stay in exactly the same place.
That feeling of spinning your wheels but going nowhere is terrible. For example, during the winter, I often feel stuck in a rut. I wake up in the dark. I work. I eat the same dinner. I watch television, and I sleep. I feel like a robot with no purpose.
Let us say it together. Stuck in a rut.
Stuck in a rut. So, how do we get the car out of the mud? We do not need a massive tractor. We just need tiny movements. This brings us to a very encouraging phrase. Small steps add up.
Small steps add up. This means that tiny, almost invisible, simple daily actions will eventually combine to create a massive, life-changing result over a long period of time.
Imagine you have an empty glass jar in your bedroom. Every single morning, you drop one single metal coin into the jar. On Tuesday, it is just one coin. It is useless. You cannot buy anything with it. It feels silly. But if you do this every day for 5 years, you will eventually have enough money in that jar to buy a plane ticket to Hawaii. The tiny daily action created a massive reward.
This is the absolute core of learning a language. For example, studying English for just 10 minutes a day might feel totally useless in the moment, but small steps add up. After 1 year, those 10-minute sessions have built a completely new neural network in your brain, and you are suddenly fluent. You do not need to study for 6 hours on Sunday. Just do 10 minutes every day.
Your turn to speak. Say it out loud. Small steps add up.
Small steps add up. And one of the most powerful small steps you can take is our next phrase. Practice gratitude.
Practice gratitude. This means you actively and intentionally search for good things in your life to be thankful for. You do not wait for good things to happen. You actively hunt for them.
Think of it like taking a metal detector to a huge, sandy public beach. Most people just walk on the beach and see nothing but normal sand. But when you turn on the metal detector, you are purposefully scanning the ground. You are listening closely. Suddenly, it beeps. You dig in the sand and you find a valuable silver ring. Practicing gratitude is turning on your mental detector to find the tiny treasures in a normal day.
What a great analogy. For example, I practice gratitude by writing down the name of one kind stranger I saw that day. Maybe it was the woman who held the door for me at the cafe. Just noticing her makes my brain focus on the good in humanity.
Please repeat with us. Practice gratitude.
Practice gratitude. Now, we have talked a lot about our own brains and our own habits, but sometimes the problem is not inside us. Sometimes the problem is the people standing around us.
That is painfully true. I actually did an exercise last month. I call it the energy audit.
Energy audit? Like an accountant checking the finances of a company?
Exactly like that. But for my social life. I opened my phone and looked at my list of text messages. I looked at the last 10 people I communicated with. In my mind, I put a tiny plus symbol or a minus symbol next to their names.
How did you decide who gets a plus and who gets a minus?
A plus meant this person gave me energy. After I spend time with them, I feel calm, inspired, or just relaxed. A minus meant this person drained my energy.
After I talk to them, I feel exhausted, guilty, or anxious. I realized I was spending 80% of my week talking to minus people. People who only complain, people who gossip, people who demand things. I was pouring all my fresh water onto dead plants.
Pouring all your fresh water onto dead plants. That is a heavy realization. We really have to protect our emotional resources. And this connects perfectly to our next two phrases: bring someone down and lift someone up.
Let us start with the negative one. Bring someone down. This means a person, a conversation, or a situation destroys your good mood and drains all your emotional energy.
Imagine you are trying to hike up a beautiful mountain. You want to reach the top, but every 10 minutes, your hiking partner stops you and puts a heavy gray rock into your backpack. They keep adding rocks. Very soon, every single step requires maximum effort. You are exhausted, your back hurts, and you want to quit the hike. That person is bringing you down with their rocks.
Perfect visual. For example, my old neighbor used to complain constantly about the weather, the government, and the grocery prices. Every time I met him in the hallway, his words would just bring me down. I had to start avoiding him to protect my mood.
Let us practice. Bring someone down.
Bring someone down. Now, let us look at the positive side. Lift someone up. This means a person makes you feel happy, capable, confident, and light. They give you strength.
Using the same mountain analogy, imagine you are hiking and you feel very tired, but your partner smiles, takes some heavy items out of your backpack, and then ties a dozen colorful helium balloons to your shoulders. Suddenly, walking feels easy. You feel like you are floating up the mountain path. That is what a good friend does.
Yes, the helium balloons of friendship. For example, no matter how bad my week is, calling my grandmother always lifts me up. She listens, she laughs, and she reminds me that I am loved.
Speak out loud, everyone. Lift someone up.
Lift someone up. As we reach the end of our journey today, we need to talk about healing. When bad things happen, we cannot just ignore them. We have to process them. This is our phrase, work through something.
Work through something. This means to slowly, patiently, and bravely fix a complex emotional problem or a deep pain. You do not run away from it, and you do not try to fix it in 1 second. You deal with it piece by piece.
Imagine you open a drawer in your house and you find a huge box of tangled electrical wires and cables. It is a massive, ugly knot. You cannot fix it by pulling hard. If you pull hard, the knot gets tighter. You must sit quietly on the floor, find one loose wire, and gently, slowly untie one small loop at a time. It takes patience, but eventually the wire is straight.
That is exactly how human emotions work. For example, after her divorce, it took my sister 2 whole years to work through her sadness and anger. She went to therapy, she wrote in her journal, she slowly untangled the wires.
Say it with us. Work through something.
Work through something. And our final phrase for today is the reward for all this hard work. Bounce back.
Bounce back. This means to recover your energy, your confidence, and your spirit after a difficult failure, a shock, or a period of depression. You return to your normal, healthy self.
Think of a bright yellow kitchen sponge. You take the dry sponge and you squeeze it as tight as you can in your fist. It looks crushed, tiny, and destroyed. But the moment you open your hand, the sponge slowly fills with air and completely returns to its original, perfect shape. It is flexible. It cannot be permanently broken by a squeeze.
I love that. Humans are like sponges. For example, I completely failed my driving test the first time I took it. I was embarrassed and wanted to quit. But I gave myself a weekend to rest, and then I managed to bounce back. I studied harder and passed the next month.
Let us practice our final phrase. Bounce back.
Bounce back. Wow, we covered a lot of ground today, Emily. We talked about how to stop our thoughts when they are spiraling, how to use a digital sunset to empty our working memory, how to understand that social media is just a highlight reel and the grass isn't always greener.
We also learned that we do not have to be perfect. If you are just trying to keep your head above water right now, that is completely okay. Be gentle with yourself. Remember to change your internal script from I have to I get to. And most importantly, check your social circle. Do an energy audit. Protect yourself from people who bring you down and stay close to the people who lift you up.
Learning English is not a sprint. It is a long walk. Sometimes you will feel stuck in a rut. But remember that tiny, daily, small steps add up. You are doing a great job just by listening to this audio today.
Now it is time for our community question. We want you to use the English you learned today. Go down to the comment section and tell us, who is one person in your life that always lifts you up, and why? Just try to write 1 or 2 sentences. Do not worry about perfect grammar. Just communicate your idea.
We read every single comment, and it really feels like a global family down there. If this conversation helped you untangle some wires today, please leave a like, subscribe to our channel, and share this with a friend.
Thank you for spending your valuable time with us. Be kind to your mind today. Untangle your thoughts slowly. And remember that no matter how hard life squeezes you, you always have the power to bounce back.
Until next time, keep practicing, keep listening, and take care of yourselves.
Goodbye, everyone.